Howdy, howdy. Okay, so some things have gone on. We went all the way to the other side of town to pick up those 3 more tile that I needed to finish the tile floor in front of the shed. So I got all the full pieces put in, and then I had to cut all the ones around the perimeter. And so I did that, and I finished cutting, and I got to where I thought we were going to do or have enough, and guess what? I am literally 2 tiles, not even a square foot. I'm talking 2 tiles short. So guess what I got to do? I got to go all the way to the other side of town. It's about a half an hour drive to pick up 1 square foot of tile. So here's what I got. Originally, I thought that these things, I could cut them in half, and I can't cut them in half. They're larger than a half. So I need 1 circle, 2 circles in order to finish. Everything else is cut. All these are cut for all those places. Those are the only 2 that I have left over. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix some thin set, and I am gonna put in as many of these as I possibly can. And then and a little bit later today, I'm going to drive for an hour so I can pick up 1 square foot of tile. Then I'll be able to come home tonight, and I'll be able to put that in, and then I will be able to grout possibly tomorrow. So it's just 1 more setback. That's not a big deal. I know that we are pretty darn close to being done here with this part of the project, and it's going to look amazing when it's done. Now, the wallpaper is another interesting thing. It's taking us a little bit longer to do the wallpaper than we originally thought, and it's a really neat design, but there's a lot of little lines in here that you have to line up, so it makes it quite a bit, I guess it just makes it a little bit longer process than just taking it up and smoothing it out and it's on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 panels up. We have 3.5 panels remaining. 1 more panel on this wall, and then I'll be able to do the AC unit. So I'm looking forward to that next panel going up. Probably not going to do that for a couple more days, but we're getting close. We're getting close. Probably this week, later in the week, we're gonna make some strides on the fireplace as well. We're going to try to do the poured concrete seating surface. That will be a lot of fun. We've never done that before. This is our maiden voyage in poured concrete for like seating or countertop material stuff, because we're using a countertop mix that we're going to tint black or tint charcoal gray. So this is our maiden voyage in doing stuff like this. We've never done this before, but we've watched enough videos that I think we're going to be successful. Just take our time, do it slow, pay attention to detail. We got some really nice forms from an online purchase, and it should look nice. I think it's gonna be good. So anyway, that's where we are at this point. I'm gonna mix some mortar or some thin set, and I'm gonna get these tiles down. Then I'm gonna drive over to the other side of town and pick up 1 more square foot of tile. All right, here we go. Have fun. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so here is what's happening. Finished all the tile in front of the shed, and now I get to grout. So I basically have cleaned off all of the thin set that was on top of the tile, cleaned off the thin set that was between the tile that this kind of squeezed out, and then what I've done is I've created a little border with some tarps and a towel around the travertine that is next to the tile, because the last thing I want to do is get charcoal grout into my travertine. So what I did is I used a tarp and I taped it down, and I had to wait for the sun to go down because I didn't want any of that glue from that tape to stay on the travertine. So we've got that done, and then right here on the edge with the turf, I put a piece of wood here and here to keep the grout from going into the turf. And hopefully that does a good containment and gets me a good edge on those pieces. I hope that one bag right here is enough. It says it should be. If it's not, then I get to go buy some more and finish the process up with a second bag. Yeah, I suppose we'll just get started and see what happens. All right, without further, here we go. Enjoy it. Talk to you soon. Bye. I mixed this a little bit too wet, I think. So we're gonna dump this stuff on and find out what happens. You might, let's start on this side over here. Oh. Those dirty knees means I've been on this floor on my hands and knees cleaning it. So I finished the grout. I had to go back yesterday for another 25 pounds of the charcoal. I think it's pronounced Mapei or Mapei or something, M-A-P-E-I. It's a brand that they carry at Lowe's. And I had to go back for another 25 pound bags. This is 35 pounds of charcoal grout. And it's done. Check that out. I'm very, very pleased with the way this came out. So it was a little cumbersome at first because if you put too much down at one time before you start wiping it, it dries so fast, and there's a polymer inside this grout that basically hardens up like glue on top of the tile. So what you saw before was me literally having to scrape that off with I used the knife that I used on drywall, and I was just scraping the top of the tile. And that's the only way I could get it off. It wouldn't come off with a sponge. So that's what I ended up doing for a good portion, probably a third of this pad. And then I kind of figured it out. I mixed it much better the second time, and then I was able to put down just a little bit, wipe it, and then keep going. And I was wiping as I went, so that kept the residue off the top of the tile in big sections, and I didn't have as much to scrape. So that was the easy way to do it at that point. So, but it is done. I just have a few more sessions to wipe up and get the residue off this, and then we are finished with this portion of the build, and then we can get back in the shed and finish that wallpaper. So I hope you like it. I'm going to show it to you. Check this out. Very, very pleased with the way this came out. Check that out. It's like a black slate with a charcoal grout. And we can seal it all, and it'll all turn black if we want to do that. Hope you like it as much as we do. Doesn't that look cool? And I did a really nice tape line down the side so it is seamless against that travertine. And then when I put that wood down on the edge down here, it kept that grout line really tight, and it looks great against that grass. It's got to get a little bit of that residue up out of the grass, but other than that, it turned out beautiful. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. After we wipe this down a few more times, let's see what happens. Check that out. Very nice. So it'll all look kind of like that one. That one is cleaner than the rest of them for some reason. And that one. But there we go. Looks awesome, doesn't it? Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll get started on some more stuff, and hopefully we'll be getting this done here soon. So take care, enjoy your DIY world. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Hello. Okay, so big day today. Shannon has been working on this wall, as you saw, and she has gotten the wallpaper done almost all the way to the end. She's got about a 4-inch strip she has to do, and then this wall is done, which means two things can happen. The AC unit can go in, and then the rubber flooring can then go in with the baseboard holding that down. So, but also the rubber flooring is going to be glued down, so there's going to be a lot more holding it down than just baseboard. But the milestone of getting this wallpaper done is really nice. I'm happy that it's done, and we're going to be able to get this AC up. So I'm going to go ahead and put you down, and I'm going to grab that AC unit. I've already wrapped some stuff up. Let me show you what I've done. We're kind of ready to go with at least placing it on the wall. So as you may or may not remember, I had to bend my refrigerant lines. They were down here. You have to take them and bend them up. Then you have to hook all the electrical up through the panel, and you have to just finagle it through the unit, take some pieces off, screw it in, get it all attached, and then all this gets bundled together, and this is all going to go through that hole in the wall right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down, and I'm going to try to get that AC unit up. this is cool because it is 107 degrees out, and it's pretty sweaty in here. It's like a sauna box in here again today. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this AC working. I don't know if I'll get it done today because I do have to do the vacuum on the lines once I hook all that stuff up, and I still am waiting on the channel that's gonna be coming hopefully tomorrow, and it's gonna be for running the refrigerant lines down the backside of the shed down to the condenser unit. Now, I ran the power to the condenser unit, as you may or may not remember seeing, and yesterday I mortared in some leftover pieces of pool coping here and a couple of 6x12s back there. So it is 18 inches this way and 24 inches that way. So it's a great base for this thing to sit on, and everything's going to come out of that hole and run all the way down, and my refrigerant lines are right back there. So it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to getting this done. I'm going to go ahead and get that AC unit on the wall through the hole, and then we'll assess it from there. So, all right, I'm putting you down. Talk to you in a minute. Bye-bye. All right, so I put the mount back up, got my hole here. In theory, all I should have to do is fish all the lines through here, set the unit on top of this, and clip it in. So let's see if that theory is correct. Well, it seems to be on there. Okay, maybe. That was the key right there. Okay, so we're up. It looks to me like it's at least on the wall. It's not gonna come off. Okay. Okay, we're one step closer. So I just want to make sure that that is completely level. Make sure it's seated well on top of that bracket. That is pretty darn level. Yep. All right. Well, there we go. First step done on the inside. Now I got to go work on the back. So let's bring you around back and see what else we got to do. All right, that's where we came out the back, right there. So this line has to be bent down just like we had to bend it away from the unit to get it through the wall. Then we have to bend this way, and then there's going to be a channel that's going to run all the way down the backside. But I'm going to go ahead and bend that down, and then I have my refrigerant lines right here. Now I believe that these are the 9-foot lines and not the 16-foot lines. I need to measure these things because if they are too long, then there's not enough refrigerant in the unit, because there's refrigerant in that unit right there, and it's pre-charged. So if you can't have too little of line, like you can't cut much of that off, because then you'll have too much refrigerant in the system, from what I understand. So I may have to, even though we've only got probably 5 feet or so to run, I may have to coil this 9-foot line and kind of try to keep it contained somehow, so the system won't be overcharged. So I'm going to do a little bit of measuring on that to make sure that that is not a 16-foot line. If it's a 16-foot line, then I can cut it down and use my flare tool and be able to get that shorter, so it's a little bit better for the basically, once I bend this down, I'm down to here, and then this down to the bottom is probably only about 5 feet. So all right, well, I am going to go ahead and get started on bending these lines down and trying to figure out the refrigerant lines. So I may be able to get my vacuum on this unit today and see whether or not I've got good connections. And that's the first thing to do, is just to make sure that the connections are good. Once the connections are good, then you can open everything up and it charges the unit, turn it on, and it should be blowing cold, in theory. So that's where we are. I'm going to go ahead and put you down again and see what I can do. See ya! All right, so I have my refrigerant lines here, and they come in, I think, 9 or 16-foot spans and lengths. Unfortunately, if they are too short, and you really can't cut these down too short, because if you do, then you're going to overcharge the unit. This unit is pre-charged, so we'll have to see how that works. I bent my refrigerant lines down. Now I'm going to measure this just to see how long this is, and see which ones I have in my kit. All right. It's about 6. This is going to be a 9-foot set, I do believe. Let's do this the easy way here. Maybe 13 feet. Yeah, maybe it is 13. So this might be a long one. I might be able to cut this down. So if I can, I will. Well, hey, I might do that just so I don't have as much of this line coiled down there. So, all right. Well, oh yeah, this is gonna be the longer line than usual. All right. Well, let me see what we can do here. All right. Well, now I gotta do some reading. Let's figure out. Talk to you. Okay. I did some measuring, and this is a 16-foot line, but then I started reading, and the manufacturer makes this unit and puts the refrigerant in this unit for a maximum efficiency for a 16-foot line. So I've seen some other people that doing a little bit of research on the old YouTube, have seen a few other people that will take these coils and they will just coil them up on the ground or behind the unit, as long as they aren't getting kicked or, you know, stepped on or something, then they're gonna be okay. Now, I don't have a whole lot of real estate down here to put these lines without, I guess, the probability of them getting stepped on or kicked or run over with a wheelbarrow or something is high. So it's highly likely. So what I'm going to do is just see about getting these things on. I can do my pressure testing or my vacuum testing and see what happens, and I can kind of see how it looks, and if I want to cut them down at a later date, I can do that before I release the refrigerant into the lines. So having said that, all I would be able to do is cut off, let's see, it's a 16-foot line. I can go down to 9 to 10 feet, so I could cut off 6 feet of refrigerant line, but then I still have 5 or so feet coiled up down there. I might as well just coil it up, leave it coiled the way it is right now, and for maximum efficiency, and just leave it alone and see if it works. And that's kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Oh man, because it does look nice. It's coiled up awfully nice right now. See that? It's all pretty and tight. I might just leave it this way and see what happens. Let's bring this back here and let's see how this works. Okay, let's see. I bent my refrigerant lines down. That seemed so unnatural to do this to a refrigerant line, to take these things and literally bend them down. So this is my drain line. This is going to go back over my refrigerant lines, and then I have my signal and power cable that runs from the main unit to the indoor unit. So that's kind of where we are at this point. So once I release these, you're going to hear a little bit of a hiss. So let's do that now. Woo! Okay, that doesn't seem normal, but that is normal. Okay, let's do this again here. The release, it's already released. So what that is that is a, what they've done is they've charged the unit to keep it pressurized until somebody buys it and then releases it. So there we go. All right, so I'm gonna put this refrigerant line on and see what we got. All right, I'm gonna put you down. Talk to you in a minute. See ya. Those rocks are sharp. Okay, so what I've got is these refrigerant lines have to hook up here. So I gotta get those caps off. It's probably all metrics. That was my guess. That's why I brought my metric set out here. Well, maybe not. Wow, maybe it's not metric. Hold up. All right. think I need to get a different wrench. Okay, moment of truth. I've got the AC lines all hooked up from the inside unit down the back wall to my condenser unit, and I am going to do some vacuum testing on my lines. Now, I went out and bought a new tool, and it is effectively a vacuum pump and a gauge set for air conditioning purposes. I've used these forever, but I always go to the auto parts store and I rent them, and then you have to, bring them back, and then they refund you your money that you tool rent. So it's basically free, but those tools are so beat up, I decided I was just going to buy my own. So here is what I've got. I've got a vacuum pump, and the vacuum pump it's nothing more than something that draws a vacuum through this line, and that line is going to be running up to the center of my gauge set. It's going to be running through the blue line, and the blue line is going to be going back to my refrigerant line on my condenser unit. So in theory, what's going to happen is I'm going to turn on the vacuum pump, and this works just like it would in a car. So you're going to turn on the vacuum pump. It's going to be pumping through the line, through the gauge right here, through the blue line into here, and what it's going to do is it's going to vacuum this line all the way through the inside unit and then back down to this right here. Now this valve here is closed, so what we're going to do is we're going to be able to pressure test or vacuum test this whole line set up and back. And what that's going to do is that's going to tell me whether the 4 connections that I have, 2 down here and 2 right up there, are good. So what I need to do is turn this on. We're running now, and then if you look at this gauge set, let me turn this around, that gauge is reading about 30 right there, negative 30, so it's approximately 30. What you want is this gauge to basically bottom out at 30, and what you're going to do is you're going to let this pump run for probably a half an hour, and what it's doing is it's creating a vacuum on that line. Once it runs for about 30 minutes, I don't know how loud that is for you, once it runs for about 30 minutes, then we're going to shut it down, we're going to close the valve, and we're going to leave it. And that basically, if that stays at negative 30 on the gauge for, say, an hour, then we know that there's no leaks in the line and all 4 of my connections are good. If that's good, then guess what? I release the refrigerant and I turn this baby on. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so that's where we are at this point. I got to hook some electrical lines up from the inside unit to the outside unit, and then if my vacuum test goes well, there's a good possibility I could have refrigeration tonight. See ya! Basically all hooked up, minus basically the power's all hooked up except for the breaker in the sub panel, which is what I was going to do last. I did not want to have any kind of power run into this thing until I had everything hooked up and everything ready to go. So that will be the last thing I do, and that's it. So what I did on this cord is I wrapped a bunch of electrical tape around the cord so it can't come back through, and then I can just take the screw out, and I'm going to silicone all up inside this area right here so nothing can get in. It'll be a watertight seal. So that is where I am now. I'm going to go ahead and just leave the screw here. It's not going to hurt anything. Alright, so we're still holding steady on our vacuum. It's been going for probably 15 or 20 minutes, and you know, we're still sitting at our negative 30 there on the gauge, which is what we are looking for. All right, fingers crossed. So technically I could go ahead and get my breaker in and just not, I need to turn probably the breaker off. Yeah, I need to turn the breaker off at the main panel before I work on this sub panel. So I can do that anytime. Once I've realized that my vacuum is good, I'll go ahead and do that. Right now the vacuum's plugged into the shed, so I really can't do that right now. So that's kind of where we are. I will turn this thing back on once we get ready and once we get going a little bit further with the determination on whether we're going to turn it on tonight. But I've got a pretty good feeling about this. I think we're going to be able to do this. So without further, man, I am stoked to get some cold weather in this shed. It's a bake box in there. All right, see ya. Okay, so it has been about a half an hour, and now I am ready to go ahead and close the system, turn off the pump, and then we'll see if our vacuum on the line stays. So here is the process that we're gonna do. So check this out. So right now, the magic number has been a negative 30 right there. Now this means a lot more to other people in this industry than it really does mean to me. All I know by doing this on my cars and stuff like that, that negative is what dictates a good vacuum. So if that can stay where it is as a needle at negative 30, even after the system is closed and turned off, then we know the vacuum is there, and now we know that there's no leaks. That is the key to whether or not you release the refrigerant from this main unit or not. And if there's any movement of that needle at all in the next hour or so after I turn this thing off, I will not be releasing the refrigerant. I'm gonna have to reassess the 4 connections that I have between the interior unit and the unit here on the outside of the shed. So that's where we are. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to close this valve, righty-tighty, right there, we are closed, and then we turn off our pump. Okay, so moment of truth. We're gonna go ahead and make sure that that needle has no movement in about the next hour. So I'm gonna mark the time down here, and then I'm gonna come back in a little while and look at the gauges. Now that I have the vacuum pump turned off, I can, because I had it plugged into the shed, now I can go over to the main panel, shut down the circuit breaker to the shed, and I can put the circuit, I can put the breaker inside our sub panel for the AC unit, but I got to make sure I can turn off all the power to the sub panel before I do that. So I don't want to open the system up and do that until I know that there's nothing dangerous coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's go to the main panel. Man, are you guys excited? I am so excited. It was so hot today, and it's been very, very almost unbearable in that shed working for the past few weeks, that it's going to be nice having AC in there. If I can have AC in there, let's see here, right here, there's my double unit right there. Okay, so technically we are off. All right, well, so I can just test this real quick and see whether my pump comes on. If my pump does not come on, nope. Okay, we have no power to the shed. So now we can play with the main panel, the sub panel. So what I'm gonna need to do is I'm gonna need to knock out a couple of these before I can put my new breaker in. My new breaker is also a 15 amp. So I'm gonna have 3 15 amp lines in that sub panel. 2 of them are gonna be controlling all the outlets and the lights, and the last one is gonna be controlling just the AC. So they are all the same. All right, this is cool. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put you down and I'm gonna get this stuff all run. So yeah, I'm just gonna put you down. See ya. Okay, so just to be the safest person that I can be, I am going to test my panel to make sure that I am completely dead and that there's nothing that's gonna hurt me or bite me when I get in here. So I turned off the main and I'm going to just test to make sure I don't have any voltage at all coming in. There's one line, 0 volts, second line, 0 volts. So now I know that this is a safe panel. I just don't want to get bit by anything. So when you have one of these things, use it often, because it could mean the difference between pain or death and not. So what I'm going to do is I need to strip this back. This is my line that runs. I'm going to just run I ran a 12-2 Romex to my AC unit in my waterproof conduit, and I need to break out 2 of these. You know, I wonder if I should go to the top. Nah, I won't. So I'm going to go ahead and break 2 of these out. That's what I need to do to put this breaker in. Alright, so my breaker. Alright, that is in. Okay, so I can shave this back here. I gotta go get something to cut with. Hold up. Alright. Now I gave myself a lot more line than I needed, but I just wanted to make sure. And so always works better with a flat head. Okay. I'm going to pull this back out. We are in. All right, so we are still dead. I'm going to leave this thing completely off until I know that we're ready to turn this thing on. So I'm not going to turn this breaker on yet. So I'm going to leave it alone, and I need to mark this. So now I know that this is going to be my AC. These are outlets. And outlets. And then I'm going to go ahead and figure out which one of these things goes to the lights as well. And then I'll be able to mark that and put lights on here, slash. All right. Well, that's exciting. Let's see if this works here. Look at that. Now I lost the screws that go down here, so I have to get new screws for that. But that's it. We are all done and ready to go. All right. Okay. So it's nighttime, and hopefully you can still see me here. It's nighttime, and I have had this vacuum drawn on this thing for about 2 hours. We had dinner, we did some other things. So I basically just, because it was so dark back here, I didn't even bother to get the stuff caught on camera, but I went ahead and I released the refrigerant into the system. Our vacuum held beautifully. So now, guess what? We get to go see if, it works. Let's give it a shot. Here, I'm gonna go ahead and put this down. All right, let's walk back in here. All right. So we've got our remote control. Just put batteries in this thing. Here we go. Ooh. All right. So we got this thing blowing. It's like 60. Oh, I wish you could feel that. That is cold air. Wow, it comes on quickly. Holy cow. All right, success. I can feel it way back here even. That's awesome. That's awesome. So it works, and it's nighttime, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to clean up some tools back there and go ahead and shut that thing down. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some tools picked up, and then I'm gonna do a little walk around here, make sure there's nothing out that could get hit by if we have any rain or anything. And then I'm going inside. So, this is awesome. So milestone, now we have an AC unit in the shed. Wallpaper's almost done. We're gonna have our rubber flooring put in here in a couple, 3 days, I think is when it arrives. And we're good. We are looking good. So, hey, thanks for hanging with us today. It's been, pardon me, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this project, this portion of the project, and this is so satisfying now that we have some cold AC coming into this building. Love it. So thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for watching. We hope you had a good time. Enjoy DIY World. Bye-bye.